Wake up, Warhipster! You have many models that require your attention for building.
But I don't like building miniatures.
Would you like some new Citadel tools to try out to make your building experience easier?
Really?
Yes, you can have them right now.
I'll give it a go. Hello everybody, it's the Warhipster here, coming at you with another review video, and today we are not reviewing a battle tome, we are not reviewing a codex, we are not reviewing a model kit or a paint. No, we are reviewing 4 products at once. These 4 are designed to make doing the thing that I dislike the most easier. Yes, I am talking about the new Citadel tools. We have the new Citadel knife, we have the new Citadel fine cutters, super fine detail cutters I should say. We have the new drill, and we have the new mold line remover. Ooh, oh my. Yes, Games Workshop have sent them to me nice and early, the new Citadel tools, to review for all of you. And what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be comparing the new Citadel tools with the old ones. Yes, we have Old Faithful clippers, Old Faithful drill, Old Faithful knife, be careful, Old Faithful mold line remover. Yes, we have all 4. So we're going to be doing a direct comparison between these oldies and the new bees. So yes, a massive thank you goes out to Games Workshop for reminding me that building is a thing and I do have to do it. Maybe these new tools will make things a little bit easier. Spoiler alert, they do. So coming up next is my super scientific review of both sets of tools. I hope you enjoy this one, and I hope it helps you make your decision as to whether or not you're going to pick up a set of these. I would heartily recommend it, but see for yourself. I'll see you in just a second. So here we have them then. The Citadel tools, the new ones. I'm so excited by these. We have the mold line remover, the drill, the super fine detail cutters, and we have the knife. So let's get them opened up, because, you know, it's exciting stuff. There we go. There's the mold line remover, and initial impressions are that it's really nice. Got that really nice kind of ergonomic grip handle that feels good in the hand. It's plastic. It's got this kind of almost rubbery finish to it, so it doesn't feel like it's you know, like a bit of sort of cold plastic, as it were. Like, it doesn't feel rough in the hand. It's got a bit of grip to it, which is quite nice. I'm just adding a little bit of pressure there. You can see I'm not kind of sliding up and down the handle, which is a big plus. I really like this new design here on the mold line remover. Got that much thinner stick, or much thinner blade, which means you can get into kind of slightly smaller areas with which to remove mold lines. For example, in between pipes and things. The old one is a little bit too thick for that kind of thing. And this notch here is very interesting, because it does mean that, for example, on this base, you can just use that to get rid of any excess that you might have on the bases. But similarly, if you've got like a sword blade, for example, or like this lance for this shining spear, you can just go across it like this, just pulling off the mold line on either side of it. It's a really nice little addition that I'm a big fan. And of course, as I say, that slightly thinner end means that we can get in places like, for example, again on this, we can go around that little area a lot easier than we could with the previous one. The previous one we would probably have to use the back of a knife instead to get into that kind of area, which is very nice. That's really cool. Big fan of that. We've got the new drill, and this will be interesting. There we go. So there it is. Interesting. I'm not sure I'm a fan of this. It's a little small to fit in my hand. So the way I generally tend to use the drills is I will hold it between these two fingers, or that finger at an absolute push, but this way I get the most control because I've got my hand really resting on it. And then because I'm anchoring around this little area here, which is the bit that spins, means we've got a moving component in there for when we do our drilling. This feels a little bit too small. We'll compare it with the old one. I'm not sure how I feel about this. I like that the mounting mechanism is there in the middle, so it's unlikely that you're going to accidentally loosen the drill bit. That's nice, particularly if you're holding down here and you're drilling like that. It's unlikely that you're going to drill anything like that or like that. Basically, you can't get grip. These fins here kind of make that a little bit difficult to hold that bit there, unless you had a fully, your wrist can twist all the way around. Then you might want to hold that bit there. But it's nice that that mechanism is kept in there. And if we just undo it, this thing rises out, and that's how we mount the drill bit, which we'll do in just a second. What I'm interested to see though is if we remove it. Okay, so there's not another one on the other end, which obvious, right? Because it screws into there, of course. But on the old one, if you removed it, you had a wider piece, which we will show you in just a moment. But interesting. It's good that you can just take this out though to clean it if you need to, because when you're drilling out gun barrels and things, sometimes the plastic can start getting stuck in there, little bits of gunk in there. And I like that this housing as well protects it from that exact thing. So if I put that in there like that, you've got this that kind of stops the gunk from your hands coming off in it, which is nice. Just move that out, and this will be interesting to see whether or not it's easy to put back together. Just do that and screw that in. Yeah, no harm done. Awesome. You get some drill bits with it. I'm not sure what size they are. It comes with, yes, there we go. 2 1.5mm pieces and 2 1mm drill bits. So that's interesting. I guess that gives you some redundancy if one of them breaks. Are they obvious enough? That's the question. I mean, 0.5mm, it should be obvious, right? Yeah, it's immediately obvious. These seem pretty good. Just give them a little bit bend. Don't feel any give in them like that. Is there any give in that? There's a little bit of give in there. Not that you're going to be anticipating, drilling into metal or anything like that, but it's good to know, like, if you apply too much pressure, does it bend? There's a little bit of give in there, which is useful. And then in there, that's a very solid drill bit. Awesome. Right, let's mount the bigger one, because that's always the challenge. So we're just going to pop that in. We need to see how sturdy that is. I need to unscrew that further. It feels quite stiff. There we go. Got it in there eventually. There is a stop there, so it does. I can't push that in any further. So there is an end, which is always nice to have. Sometimes you can push them in too far, and you just end up with a tiny bit of drill. Okay, so a little bit more leverage on it. From that distance, there is a bit of bend. So this is kind of what I wanted to test, is from this kind of distance. I just use this melter here. Does that feel? I've got some good bite in there, not that you'll really be able to tell. It's difficult to film that, but the drill bit feels effective. Drills out quite nicely. I guess that didn't feel too bad. It's a little harder to get that precision though. If we have a bolt gun somewhere, which I don't think I do, we need a smaller drill bit for that, I suspect, which we can do. Do that. Is it easy to dismount? Yes, it is. So if we just look at that bit goes in quite easily. And again, there is that stop. It won't go in any further than that. Just press on it. That's a quite nice narrow drill bit. That's all the way in. So we'll do it on this Leagues of Votansman here. Should probably put a pilot hole, just marking it with a knife, but just for the purposes of testing the drilling. Doesn't feel that comfortable to use. Having the mechanism here, I'm finding that because I'm using the palm of my hand there, if I was to do it this way, it's a little bit easier because I'm using the kind of handle at the front, but getting those movements like that, precision drilling, it's hard to hook onto that, so you're definitely going to need to. Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about that. It's a little too small for my hands. I don't have particularly big hands, but it still feels a little bit too small for my hands. It's nicely made. Again, it's got that same plastic texture to this. This feels a little bit smoother in the hand, but it's not like a coarse plastic. It's got a little bit of grip on it, which is nice. And that's nice and loose. It's not going to come undone. Doesn't feel like it's unscrewing or anything, which in some drills it feels like it is going to. And in some drills it definitely does. That's not bad. I mean, it's a bit too small for my hands, but obviously not without sustained testing. We can't really, it's just that you can see that I'm struggling to get around it, and that doesn't feel without kind of, let's just do that. If you're pressing against it like that, it's fine, because you know you're supporting the drill, you're not just holding it, but just holding it like this doesn't feel as good. Okay, we'll compare it with the old drill. We'll just pop these drill bits back in the packet. Oh no, let's do it the other way. Pop them in this one, so you don't have to rattle them around, because this is the inner tube. You see it goes over the top like that, so it just makes it easier to pop them away. Interesting. There we go, Citadel drill. Super fine detail cutters. Now I am always in the market for good cutters. Cutters are one of those things, you use them the most, and they are one of the most important parts of the building procedure. And I've been through many pairs of cutters, never quite found the right ones. Again, we will compare these with the older Games Workshop Citadel cutters, but I really didn't like the old professional grade ones that they used to make now. The ones that came in the painting and tools sets, they're really good. They're really tiny little snips. They're not very good quality, but they've got that precision that I'm after. And this feels nice in the hand. Again, same plastic as the Citadel tools. So it's got that little bit of grippiness to it. Doesn't feel non-premium. Doesn't feel cheap. The action on them is nice and smooth. Doesn't require a lot of pressure. I just gently press. There's a bit of spring back in there as well, so you see. means there's some good tension on that joint, which is very cool. It locks so the blades don't overlap. If we look very carefully here, you see that the blades just come together. So sometimes in old cutters or in other versions of premium cutters, you get this kind of thing where the blades meet and then they go past each other a little bit to kind of help you pull the piece apart. But what that ends up doing is causing tearing from the plastic, so it means that you don't get as fine a cut. That's a very nice action. It just stops dead. There's no overlap. If I squeeze, yeah, no overlap, no movement in that blade at all. It feels from along here, feels like the blades are meeting perfectly, which is really nice. The construction is clearly quite nice because the metal runs all the way through. When I just did that, I can feel the metal in here. When I'm just clipping like that, don't feel that kind of shock on my wrist, which again can happen. As you can hear as well, it's just a single noise, just a single like that. It's not like that, which can happen if your clippers are overlapping. Which, if we compare to a kind of pair of cheap clippers like this, if you listen carefully, hear how it's going like that, like the double snap, whereas this, in that instance, the blades are going past each other a little bit. That's really nice. Obviously, we'll build a model with them very shortly, just to really kind of see what it's like in terms of the maneuverability of these clippers. They are a really nice size. So the other problem with this kind of small clippers that come in the Citadel Paint Tools box is that they're a little bit small. So you end up kind of having to hold them like this if you've got adult hands like I do. Again, I don't have the world's biggest hands. I can measure them for you, but that's a really nice feeling pair of clippers. I'm really excited to use these. We'll see what they're like to cut with. So, lastly, we have the knife. And this is what I'm really excited about. Don't want to do that when it's got the blade on it. So it does come with a guard, which is here. I've got the blades in here. I think there's 5 or 6 of these. So a tip here, just open it and then just pour them out onto a table surface so that if they are stored in here with the blades up like mine were just then, you don't have to pour them out into your hand and get a surprise prick. So we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blades in the pack, which is very, very cool. So let's look at the knife housing. There's this one. So again, we've got that same mechanism here as the drill. That doesn't appear to, oh yes, it does. So I'm presuming this will come out if I unscrew it far enough. Yeah, there we go. Oh, that's a long piece of metal. Again, there's no additional one. You just got that single screw mechanism, but that's okay. We don't need anything else. You want to be careful here because it goes in like that way. Guessing if you unscrew it, you could put it in like that. Oh no, it won't go in because of the way it's designed. That's very nice. So if you do want to take it out for cleaning, for example, again, just getting the gunk off of here or whatever, if you try and put it in sideways, it's not going to go. It has to go in that way. That's a really nice feature. Just means you don't misassemble, you miss reassembling your knife. So you can just screw that back together. And you can see here that that gap there should close up the tighter we go. There we go. So the blade is seated in there like it is with the drill. So just undo that. And there's always that tricky bit. You want to undo it as much as you can when assembling your knife. You just want to be very careful. You want to hold the back part of it like that. You don't want to hold it this way, because if you try and push it in and you meet some resistance, you could end up going into your own hand. So you want to hold it like that, and you want to hold the back part of it. So you're not going to cut your fingers here. Instead, you're just going to, like I said, if I miss this and push, you see I'm going that way. It comes away from me. If I do it the other way, which I'm not going to do, I will cut myself. So again, that's a bit of knife safety for you. We can just move that in, press that in. It does stop as well. There is an end point there, which is useful. Obviously, if you're going to assemble your knife, you're not just going to press down like that, because you'll just take the point off. So we're just going to screw that in. Like that, make sure it's nice and tight. And there we go, now we have a new knife. Plastic is once again the same quality as the others, and it's got this really nice grip. I can feel that there. It fits really nicely in the hand. Think about left-handed. Yeah, same thing. It doesn't feel like a left-handed or a right-handed knife. We should actually probably test that with all of these. Yeah, ambidextrous tools. Yeah. Feels good. So yeah, on initial inspection, this feels quite nice in the hand. Like I said, you do have this kind of grippy plastic, and you've got this nice kind of concave here that fits your hand quite nicely. You've also got this little guard here, which allows you to put your finger on that, or your thumb, as you're removing pieces, which gives you a guard on which to do it. The old one doesn't let you do that, because it's just knife and nothing else. That's very, very cool. And of course, we do have this guard as well that goes over the top, and there's a nice amount of clearance there between. This is fully on now, and I'm not going to press that point into the top of the guard there, as you can see, so I'm not going to break the point in there. Again, when removing these guards, you just want to use your thumbs to press up from the bottom. You don't want to hold it like this or hold it like that and pull. Just want to press up from the bottom like that. Keep your fingers safe, kids. There we go. I really like this. I like this a lot. That's really cool. Awesome stuff. Here we have the old versus the new. So I do have all of the tools, quite luckily, which makes doing this comparison quite nice. So we're going to start with the clippers, then we'll do the drills, then we'll do the mold line removers, and then finally we'll do the knives. So looking at these clippers first then. Immediately, I should say, there is a world of difference between both of these clippers. These are a lot lighter in the hand. These are made of pure metal. These are the old classic ones. So they're not grippy, really, because you're just holding metal here. So if I just kind of apply any pressure whatsoever and move my fingers, it just comes along. There's also no guard here, whereas on these, you've got this little lip here, which makes it very nice for, you're not going to move on to the clippers there. Whereas these, it's like trying to hold on to a clipping bar of soap. See? So we just do that kind of. I'm not going to try and hold on to them. That feels like a fairly scientific test. Same again. So the other thing to notice about the older clippers is that when we press them together and then go a little bit more pressure, you can see that those blades go past one another. That might be a better angle. Yeah, see? They go past one another. So there's no stopping mechanism there. They just keep going until these kind of bits meet. In terms of size, when we close them up, these are it's interesting actually, I hadn't realised that. These are much wider than these, so it means you've got a much less effort to do the clip, Whereas these you have to go all the way like that. Whereas that, you know, if I hold these like that, I've got a much wider hand than I have on there, which is interesting. So yes, if we compare the cutting areas, you can see that these are much smaller. If I pop these behind, they should disappear from view. Yeah. So immediately, these ones are the winners. It's a massive improvement. They're grippier, they're narrower, they've got a much better hold on them. These ones have got a squeak and the blades go past each other. You can be more precise with these. You could use these for hours and hours. The spring back I think is pretty similar. The mechanism I think has just been developed. Let's just try to test that. Yeah, so they both spring back quite nicely. And one of the advantages of these is that, you know, the mechanism's really nice because there is no moving part here. So if we look at, for example, our budget ones again, you see how we've got this little bit of plastic or metal, whatever that is. That's what causes the clipper to move back, so you don't have to clip and then move it back. Very interesting. I like these a lot. These are a massive improvement over these. They don't feel as premium, these ones, because it's got the plastic handle, and these are that kind of metal, and they look really professional. They look really cool. But no, I think new clippers win. Easy victory for the new clippers. Highly recommend those over these ones. Drills next. So if we compare these side by side, immediately this one's bigger. It feels more comfortable to me just doing that. I'm not left-handed, but having done that little bit of drilling earlier, this one feels way more comfortable. This area, this kind of thing that you hold within which to do the drilling, is a lot larger, so it fits nicer in the hand. This is a lot smaller, so you need a narrower grip. I don't feel like I'm gripping this one quite as hard, and if I just, you can see straight away. Yeah. The other thing that's advantageous about the old drill is if you unscrew this, you get more bits with it than you did with the newer drill. If we unscrew this, you then pull that out. So that's your kind of one for your larger drill pieces, and there's your one for even slightly smaller ones. You just pop that back in, drill that back in, and you are good. The best thing about both of these is that, you know, the drill bits aren't really going to come loose. They both feel nice and secure, but I much prefer the older one. It's just that little bit bigger for my hand, you see. So if you've got smaller hands than I, then you might prefer this drill, but this one still feels a little bit better to me. It's just bigger. It also, again, similarly, it's just got that slightly more premium feel because it's made of that metal, which is just a lot nicer. Yeah, I think old drill takes it. So if you've got the old drill, I'd possibly give this one a miss, but if you're looking for a smaller drill for your smaller hands, yeah, I'd recommend that. It's not to say that this one is bad. It's just I prefer this one for the size of my hand. That's all. Anyway, that's 1-1. I don't anticipate the score to be even by the end. So here we have the two mold line removers. Sorry. Yes, that is the right way around. So immediately, the same problems with the old tool set come up once again. So this is made of pure metal, as you can see. It is well loved. I use the mold line remover on every single model that I build. So this is made of metal. It's weighty. That's not fair. Let's just do, yeah. So this one's heavier. The fact that it's made of metal means there's no grip on it, so it's more likely to give you kind of exhaustion in your muscle here, having to hold this one a little bit tighter. This one fits a lot nicer in your hand because you've got that support there, shock absorption. that goes from that and going into your hand. Whereas here, you don't have that. It's just, you know, whacking into you. Not that you're going to be doing, you know, that kind of thing, motion with it anyway, but I do find sometimes with these mold line removers, because they are made of metal, they do just kind of tax your hands a little bit more than, say, maybe this will. We'll have to know. We'll find out. We're going to build a model after this. But yeah, I think this is Old Faithful. This is New Faithful. You got that much narrower, as you can see. If I pop them again, if I pop it just behind it, you should see it disappear. Yeah. So this is much narrower. If we put it that side, you can see that like that. And the taper is a lot closer. So you got that same kind of distance. This one's a little bit shorter, but you get more use of that blade out of that. And you get this little notch, which you don't get on the old one. So that was just very useful for doing those bases. Yeah, I'm sorry, old mold line remover, but you lose this round. This one's just much more comfortable. Again, got that grip, that grippy plastic. Again, doesn't feel as premium as the all metal version, but it doesn't feel cheap either. Yeah, I think new mold line remover, you win. So 2-1 in favor of the new tools. And lastly, we have the knife. Now, this knife, it's one of those things of, I've used it a lot, so mine isn't exactly a great use case for you guys. This is sort of 5 years old now, maybe, something like that. The mechanism in this knife is quite loose. You have to really screw it on, but it doesn't have a kind of, it doesn't feel like it bites into the screw. It just comes to the end of the screw. And quite often what happens as I'm using it and applying pressure to it, eventually this just comes loose and you end up with that going on. Now, because mine is so old, the knife is still held there, you see? So in order to actually remove that, you have to tap it like that and pull the blade out, which is, you know, the intended operation, right? But I don't know, that this one has caused a lot of problems. Because it's made of metal, you don't have that amount of grip that you would possibly like. You've only got a little bit of grip here. You can't get that precision cutting like you can with the new one. Let's pop that blade back in. Again, just being careful, holding the back of the blade. This one only stops because the knife tapers out there. Screw that back in. There we go. So again, you get that kind of exhaustion. Same thing with the mold line remover by holding this one, and you don't have a thumb guard here. So it's easy to, when you're kind of trying to do a real precise cut, you're just holding the back of the blade. It's very easy to not, for the blade to slip in the housing if you haven't really pushed it in there, which I have done there. So it's a pretty poor example, but yeah, it's, again, Old Faithful. I've used it a lot. And it does feel premium because it's metal, but it doesn't feel user-friendly, I think is probably the best way of doing that. Whereas we got that same difference in height. So the older one is longer, but this one you can get much closer than you can on this one before you're even touching the blade. And sometimes when you do a really precise cut, you want to get as close as you possibly can, like that. And this just being safer to hold onto the plastic. You're not pressing on the blade, so it's not going to move. You just got that with which to do your thing. That's just a lot nicer. It's also designed with the grip involved to fit within your hand, just like the mold line remover. So you've got that kind of hold like that for your cuts, and then for your mold line removers, got that. With your knife, you've got that. Yeah. 3-1, I'm afraid. Sorry, old tools. I love you. But you're going to one side. So with the new Citadel tools beating the old Citadel tools by an emphatic 3-1 victory, it's only fair that we build something cool We build something epic. We build something big. Any guesses? No, not that. Or that. You got it. Scarbrand. Here we go. So Scarbrand is a kit that comes on 1 and 2 sprues. It's nice and simple to do actually when we've only got those 2 sprues there, and we've got a lot of big components. Now we have our instruction booklet here, printed on high quality A4 paper, in black and white no less. Now they recommend using the old Citadel tools, boo, so we're going to be using the new ones. So as you can see, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pages of instructions to get through, so we might as well just jump right into doing it. And before we do that, we're going to have a quick inspection of the sprues, as we always like to do whenever we're building a miniature. Now, because he's very muscly and quite organic, there are going to be a number of different contact points on outward facing areas that we don't want. So for example, here on the leg, you can see that contact point is right there, outward facing on the leg, which will combine with a seam going right down the middle of the leg. So if there is a contact point on the other side, and I'm just assuming that 28 and 18 maybe go together, they probably don't, but if they are the kind of thing that does go together, you'll see that the contact points are facing outwards on both sides of the leg. It's a reasonable assumption to make that that is how that is going to go. So in fact, I've got the instructions in front of me. We can look at A3, 83 and 84. So there they are. We've got the, yeah, exactly. Contact point on the outside of the leg and on the outside of the back of the leg. Same here and same here. So these are going to be a really interesting challenge for our new tools to see if we can get nice and close and whether or not it's actually easier to do it. The wings, we've got a lot of kind of spikes and horribleness in case there's any mold line removing duties that need to be done here. Can't really tell from this angle. We've got a little bit of it in here. Should be a good workout for the new mold line remover. And of course, we've got contact points on the outside of the axe heads as well. So we want to make sure that those are nice and smooth. So again, really good test bed for our new tools. Looking at the other sprue, we've got more contact points on the outside of muscles. So here on this arm and on the outside of that hand, on the body as well. And again, right along the seam of the body. So we'll have another section that goes here. So where's the other one? Can't really tell. Maybe it's this or this. But again, contact points on the outside of these areas. So if you're building a Scarbrand, you do want to watch out for this kind of thing. This is always the sort of thing that I like to look for as I'm going through my model kits anyway, as you guys will know from looking at any of the model kit reviews that we've done so far on the channel. So with that in mind, we're going to be very careful around all of these muscles. It'll be very interesting for the clippers to see if they get nice and close as well. So we're just going to jump in and we are going to start painting him. Not painting him, building him. We're way too far ahead to be saying things like painting. Goodness gracious me. Silly Warhipster. Alright, here we go then. So pieces number 1 and number 2 are in fact 83 and 84. This is just as we suspected here with the leg. So we're just gonna nice smooth cut there on the leg. We're gonna do the same thing here. We're gonna do the same thing here as well. There's a very nice resounding click with that stop on these. On these older ones, you get that kind of wet click and squeak. So you know that you've cut it, which is really good. 83 and 84. This is the other piece. Get it nice and close there, like so. We'll just pop that sprue to one side for the moment, and we're going to inspect the damage from our clipping. So as you can see, that's already quite a nice clean cut. If I just press these together, Oh, have I clipped off the wrong thing? Yes, I have. That's 82 is what I've clipped off. We've got 83, so we need 84. Silly me. Where are you, 84? You're actually there. Trials and tribulations. 84. I'm not noticing any grinding on the clips, and it takes very little effort to just clip them apart, which is very nice. So we'll try that again. This is take 2 live. So we're going to press these together and see what it looks like. As you can see, we do have that seam along the inside. We've got the contact points here and here. Now, there's a little bit of flash on there, which is perfect. That's because of the angle at which I clipped it. So we will get rid of that in just a moment. And otherwise, I think the glue will just hold this, will seal that up nicely, because there's nothing like keeping it apart. And it doesn't look like we've got many in the way of mold lines on here either, which is very nice. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the knife first on this kind of section. So again, giving that thumb on there. That cutting action is really nice. So that comes off nice and smoothly. And that is such a close cut, actually we don't need to use the knife, so that's where the mold line remover comes in. So we're just going to gently scrape this over. The top, like that. And that's coming off very, very easily. This is interesting. So you see, I don't know how well you'll be able to see on the camera, but you've got this kind of flat serration, this kind of rough edge on the outside and in there. Now if we look at the old mold line remover, the roughness is on the flat there. You can see how it has these lines going like that. Same on that side. Whereas on the kind of cutting edge area, that seems flat. And I feel like that's probably making a difference, because that felt very easy to remove that bit of horribleness. So that's one piece. So up here we've got that little bit of extra flash on there that we don't want. So we're just going to very carefully cut that away. And the same thing back here. We're going to do the same thing back here. It's almost making no resistance. Now that could be just because it's a brand new blade, but it just feels nice and feels like I'm getting a really good purchase with the blade. A little bit of a mold line there. Got the remnants of our clip off just there as well. And quite a lot of plastic is coming off there with very little application of any pressure. Again, this just feels really nice in the hand. I am a big, big fan. There we go. And that is one leg ready for some glue. So let's do that. Just going to add the glue all the way along the seam. Take our piece and push together. Just just wipe off any excess glue. Yeah, see? That gap is gone. However, I have just noticed that left behind a little bit of plastic just there. So we'll just get rid of that with the knife. And we'll just go over with the mold line remover. Like so. Wicked. So, I'm going to get the rest of Scarbrand built up, and then I'll be back for some final thoughts. So with Scarbrand fully constructed, we have now built our first model using the new Citadel tools. And I mean, I'm a bad arbiter for this kind of thing, right? Because I don't particularly enjoy building models. It's one of those things that it's just, you know, it has to be done. I wish I didn't have to do it. I wish I could pay one of you to build all of my models for me. But unfortunately, I don't have that kind of cake. However, building him is a nice model to build. If you want to have a Scarbrand model build kit review, yeah, 10 out of 10 on the build. Very, very easy to do. But using the new tools actually made it feel a lot easier. And I think that makes a great case for how having high quality tools and make sure you're keeping your blades and stuff sharp really does make the world of difference. The clippers are great. They feel fantastic in the hand. They've got a reassuring weight to them whilst also not being too heavy. The knife and the mold line remover are nice and light as opposed to the older metal ones, meaning I didn't feel any fatigue in my hands as I was doing this. I was able to just go right through. Normally I need a break every sort of 40 minutes just because it's not a natural position for me to use these tools typically. Normally I'm sat all day with a paintbrush like this, whereas doing this kind of thing, this action with my wrist in particular, is just one of those things. Whereas I didn't feel any of that kind of fatigue that I sometimes get in my hands as I'm building. I really like the build quality on these. I think they're fantastic. They've got a reassuring sturdiness to them, whilst also just being a lot easier to hold. And that's the main thing, I think, when you're using your tools, especially if you're going to be using them for like a dedicated building day. Now you might have your own favorites or, you know, other providers, but I would absolutely recommend giving these new ones a shout because they're very, very, very easy to use. They feel really good and, well, there's not a whole lot else to say. I just would thoroughly recommend picking up these cutters. I would thoroughly recommend the knife and the mold line remover as well. The drill, I think, will basically come down to user by user basis. As I mentioned, I don't have particularly big hands, and even that drill felt small in my hands, whereas the older drill felt just about the right size. So for some of you out there who might have much larger hands than I, then you might struggle with this a little bit. It depends on your drilling action and how often you do it. Again, not a particularly natural position, and sometimes you can find that kind of fatigue when you're using a tool that's just a little bit too small for your hands. It's all about the right tool for the job, right? So if you get a chance, I would try this one before you buy it. It depends, I think, on a customer by customer basis. However, I think this is absolutely fantastic. Here it is, the mold line remover. I think it's brilliant. I really like this. Another thing I should point out is when you use these plastic tools and you do as I do, where you sit back like this and you build kind of like this and you use your tummy or your legs to leave your tools at rest, they don't slip off as easy as the metal ones. That's obviously something that I haven't been able to film properly or indeed appropriately without just having a crotch shot. But yes, they're just very, very, very nice. Another big plus in favour of the new knife is that, well, I don't know where the old one's gone. The new knife isn't round, so it won't roll on any surfaces. You can pop it down on a table, you could be on a ship trying to build your models, and your knife isn't going to roll from side to side, unlike the older one, which is in a perfectly round case, so it will just go farewell from off the other end of your table. So, all in all, new Citadel tools, heartily recommend. 2 big thumbs up from me. If I had to give them a rating on the Land Raider scale, well, collectively, probably an 8 out of 10 collectively. However, if we discount the drill, because I do have some kind of physical issues mostly with the drill, I would say 9 out of 10. Absolutely. I would like the cutters to just be that ever so slightly smaller. They are very, very good, but I would just like them to be ever so slightly smaller. Another feature of these that I forgot to mention is that you have actually got in here, and this is a sign of really kind of high quality cutters, is you've got one side that is a dull blade and one side that is a sharp blade, which provides an even closer cut. Whereas on other clippers, for example, slightly cheaper ones, you'll have 2 sharp blades, which can cause that grinding that we were talking about. Or you'll have 2 sharp blades, which cause those to go past each other because they're too sharp. So yes, I hope you found this useful. I do apologise if the energy felt a little bit low in this video. I have been a little bit under weather the last couple of days, but I really like these tools, and I really like you for watching this. And if you really like me, you should hit that subscribe button, because it would help me out a great deal. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all very soon in the next video. Happy wargaming. If you enjoyed this video, you love the channel, and you want to support me further like these legends and bosses on the screen before you, you can do so. Head to patreon.com/warhipster or head to ko-fi.com/warhipster. Alternatively, you could become a YouTube member by heading to the channel page and clicking on the join button just here, just like these amazing, wonderful people have done. And if you really like this video, or you just want to shoot me some support, you can click on the thanks button just below this video. Don't forget to share it, like it, comment on it, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And to make sure you stay up to date, don't forget to click the bell icon. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all very soon in the next one. Happy wargaming.